Java, Classes and Objects, Part 2. So in that first part, we wrote a class to represent a person. So in this part here, let's go into our static void main and actually create an object that represents a person. So the first thing we need to do is import our class into our program. So what we're going to do here is simply go out here and we're going to use import person, okay, person dot star. Look here, we need to add the dot star in here. That means it's going to include all of our gets, sets, and functions. Okay, so what that's doing up here, if we look up here, this is our class, and we're going to import that right here. So make sure you use the dot star to include everything here. So we're importing our class. Next step, let's walk through a few of the variables here. I've got a couple of strings here that we're going to pull some information and store in. Starting up a scanner here. I've got a double going on here that we're going to store some salary information in. Okay, so now let's actually create a brand new person. So that class that we called was person, so we're going to use it right here, person. Okay, this is our object name, P1 for person 1. New, we have to use the word new, person. Okay, so you can think of it as, here's our data type or object, here's our name for it, and then we have to say new person. This instantiates the object. Okay, once that happens now, we can then add some values to that person. So this is what's sort of cool here. I'm just going to go ahead here and show you what happens. If I go ahead and hit P1 and I hit the dot, look what popped up here. Okay, here is our method right here. So this is our method. Here is our city, get the state, get the full name. Here's where we're going to set our values. So all of these that we wrote are showing up here in our drop down. So I'll go ahead and back that out of here. So that's what we're doing right here. We're using here the set the first name where we're going to load Jim into our first name for our person, Smith. So we've added now his first and last name into our object, our P1 object that represents a person. And then we're going to here use an example here of the income calculator. So I'm going to supply P1 with the number of years and the salary. He makes pretty good money. And we're going to store that into the answer. That's it. Okay, that's the simple steps here on creating an object there. Let's create another person. So we're going to do the very same thing here. Person, P2, new person. Okay, so it's the name of the class, whatever we want to call it. Okay, equals new and the name of the class. That brings it into existence. It gives it resources and memory. So then we come down here and we go ahead and we add it, give it a first name, Axel Rod. Now let's scroll down just a little bit farther here. If I want to get that name out, okay, I'm going to store in full1. Okay, I'm going to reference it here as P1 dot get the full name. Okay, that's going to represent the full name, Jim Smith. And I'm going to concatenate the answer onto this string. Okay, if I just want to get the full name out, here it is right here. Get the full name. And as you can see here, I'm just doing a system out here to print those answers out. So we can use the gets to pull our information out. We use our sets to put the information in. Okay, and we can store these into individual people. So there's a person 1 and a person 2. So to create a new object, you just have to do a couple of things. We need to import the class. Okay, make sure we use the dot star. And then to actually create that person, we call the class, our variable name there, our object name. Our object name goes right here. Use the word new followed by the class name. And then we can use our different functions to set the values and to get the values out. And that concludes the end of part 2. Our next part on here, part 3, we'll look at storing different people objects in an array list.